I was reborn. This time, I chose to take the initiative to fulfill Ryan Carter and Lily Shaw's love. Ryan said Lily was in poor health, so I gave up my job and applied to be transferred to the countryside. When Ryan wanted to bring Lily home to take care of her, I voluntarily moved out to give them space. In my previous life, when Lily was critically ill, everyone urged me to divorce, just so their love wouldn't have any regrets. Even my daughter resented me, calling me selfish and self-centered. But what no one knew was that I was also terminally ill, with only a short time left to live. Listening to Director Wilson saying how considerate I was, I almost cried. Because somehow, I had been reborn. I had returned to the exact moment when Ryan asked me to give up my job for Lily. I decisively put down my pen and said to Director Wilson, "Director, I'd like to give my job to someone in even greater need." Director Wilson froze, looking at me strangely. "Didn't your fiancé ask you to give this job to Lily Shaw? If you give it to someone else, how will you explain it to him?" My fiancé, Ryan Carter, was a well-bred, elegant military officer from a prestigious family. Everyone praised him as the model soldier, the perfect gentleman. They all said I wasn't good enough for him. If it weren't for my parents who were martyrs, even being a housemaid in Ryan Carter's family would have been considered a privilege. I smiled and said to Director Wilson, "Director, I want to respond to the call of the new era, free love. We no longer support arranged marriages like in the old society. And as the child of martyrs, I should set an example and actively help those in need." Hearing my passionate speech, Director Wilson was so moved that he clapped enthusiastically, his eyes filled with admiration for my sense of duty. Seizing the moment, I submitted my application to be transferred to the countryside. Women can hold up half the sky. Everyone has a responsibility to build the nation. As I left with my approval notice in hand, I could still hear Director Wilson singing my praises. In my previous life, I didn't go to the countryside, because in just a few days I was going to marry Ryan Carter. Soon after the wedding, we had a child. And I stayed home to take care of the family while Ryan remained in the military. As he climbed the ranks and was assigned to different places, we began a long-distance marriage. But wherever Ryan went, he always took Lily Shaw and her son with him. Outsiders praised him for being loyal, devoted, and honorable. Only I knew his true nature, his coldness, his indifference. He left me behind to care for our child and his elderly parents, expecting me to clear up every rumor for him. I watched as our daughter grew from a baby into a toddler, and then step by step, she drifted further and further away from me. Eventually, she married Lily Shaw's son, turning them into a real family. I was confused. I was furious. But Ryan Carter accused me of being petty and narrow-minded. With just one dismissive sentence, he completely crushed me. What was even more laughable, no one even told me about my daughter's wedding. Afterward, Ryan showed me the photos. He said, "Don't be upset, she just didn't tell you because she knew you wouldn't approve." In the photos, my daughter was holding Lily Shaw's arm intimately, as if they were the real mother and daughter. How long had it been since she smiled at me like that? Ever since she started dating, she had grown impatient with me. She even repeatedly urged me to divorce. "Mom, what's the point of staying with Dad? You should just get a divorce. It'd be better for everyone." "Mom, you know Dad doesn't love you. Why can't you let go and help him be with the one he truly loves? Mom, you're so selfish. You know he doesn't love you, yet you still refuse to divorce him. Mom, you don't deserve my dad. Get a divorce and let him live the rest of his life in peace." A divorce would be better for who? Who exactly was I supposed to fulfill? Who was even worthy of Ryan Carter? It wasn't until then that I realized the daughter I had raised with so much love had always been on her future mother-in-law's side. She was standing up for Lily Shaw, feeling sorry for her. But why? Why was it that when my in-laws were sick, I was the one who stayed up all night taking care of them, while he enjoyed his romance with someone else? Why was it that when our daughter had a fever, I was the one carrying her up and down the hospital stairs, staying awake through the night to watch her IV drip, while he was out taking care of another woman's son, shopping, dining, attending his parent-teacher conferences, as if he were the boy's real father? Why was it that after giving my all to this family, sacrificing my dreams, losing myself, in the end, Everyone said I didn't deserve him. He said it. Our daughter said it. Everyone said it. Everyone told me to divorce him, to fulfill Ryan Carter and Lily Shaw's love. But why should I? I refused. Even if I knew Ryan Carter didn't love me. Even if I knew that he and Lily Shaw were meant to be together. I would drag this marriage out until the day I died. When Lily Shaw was on her deathbed, her final wish was to take one last family photo as Ryan Carter's rightful wife. Ryan Carter came to find me. He said he was sorry. He hoped that for the sake of Lily Shaw, who was dying, I could let them be together. I looked at him carefully. He was still as handsome and refined as I remembered. Time seemed to have favored him, and the added wrinkles on his face only made him appear more gentle. His back was still straight, unwavering as ever. From youth to old age, he had been Lily Shaw's shelter, holding up an umbrella for her throughout her entire life, yet he had never once sheltered me. In the end, he even poured the rainwater from that umbrella onto me. The more desperate he was, the colder I became. Our conversation ended in discord. But in the end, I still fulfilled their wish, with my death. I died on the day my daughter came to persuade me to divorce him once again. When she saw that neither reason nor morality could sway me, she stood up in anger, saying, "I'd rather not have a mother like you," before slamming the door and leaving. She didn't see the terminal cancer diagnosis slip fall from my hand. She didn't see that I died with my eyes open. In that final moment, I was filled with deep regret that I had ever given birth to her, and even more regret that I had ever married Ryan Carter. But I was lucky. I was reborn before I married Ryan Carter. This time, I would live for myself. When I got home, I carefully put away my approval notice for the countryside transfer and started packing my belongings. This apartment had been assigned to Ryan for our upcoming marriage. It was a 2-bedroom unit. Since the wedding date was approaching, I had already moved in, though we each had our own separate rooms. As I packed, I thought about the coming days, planning my future. I had decided to go to the countryside because I knew that a future pioneer in the agricultural field was there. I wanted to study under him, to contribute to the nation, and to find my own sense of purpose. While I was immersed in my thoughts about the future, Ryan came home. As expected, he had gone to see Lily Shaw and her son first, before bringing them back with him. Lily held her son's hand as they walked in behind Ryan. The moment she entered, she smiled and said, "Sister, we're bothering you again." To be honest, Lily Shaw was not a striking beauty, but she had a delicate, frail appearance that easily evoked a man's protective instincts. As she spoke, she glanced at Ryan Carter, then lowered her head with a gentle smile, exuding the affectionate charm of a newlywed wife returning home with her husband. Her son was clearly familiar with the house. He brushed past me and ran straight into the kitchen, opening the cabinets and taking out their designated tableware, one set for Ryan, one set for Lily, and one set for himself. There was none for me. It was as if they were the real family, and I was just an outsider. Soon, the boy came running out of the kitchen with a pout, hugging Ryan's leg and complaining, "Dad, there's nothing left in the kitchen. Did she eat everything and not leave anything for me and Mom?" I had once asked Ryan why he allowed Lily's son to call him Dad. Ryan had said, "He's just a kid. Don't argue with a child over something so trivial. What's the difference between calling me Dad and calling me Godfather?" Perhaps Ryan himself had always wanted to be the boy's real father. That's why he never corrected it. Ryan patted the boy's head, signaling him to let go, then quickly walked into the kitchen. When he saw that the cabinets were indeed empty, Lily's eyes instantly turned red. With a pitiful voice, she whimpered, "Did I upset you, sister? If so, I won't come again, but at least you shouldn't let Ryan go hungry." I simply sat quietly on the couch, watching as Ryan anxiously comforted Lily and her son. Only after he escorted them home did he return. When Ryan came back, I was in the kitchen cooking noodles. He stood by the door, frowning, hesitating for a moment before finally saying, "If you're unhappy, just tell me directly. Why make things difficult for Lily and her son?" He seemed to realize that his tone was too harsh, so he softened and continued. "I was childhood friends with her late husband. Before he died, he asked me to take care of them. The kid is still young and needs proper nutrition. Lily isn't very good at cooking, and since you have the time and the skills, I thought I'd bring them over to eat. If this makes you unhappy, I won't invite them over anymore." Seeing that I still didn't respond, Ryan hesitated, then added dryly, "You should understand, shouldn't you?" Of course, I should understand. After all, when my parents died, his family took me in. So, that meant I owed them, didn't it? The next morning, as soon as Ryan left, I left right after him. I needed to go back to the Carter family home. My engagement to Ryan Carter had been arranged by his parents. At the time, there were even witnesses present. If I was really going to separate from him, I needed to talk to his parents first and inform the witnesses from back then. That way, neither of us would have any trouble marrying in the future. After packing my belongings, I bought a few gifts to bring home as a courtesy. I walked slowly, savoring the thought that in just a few days I would finally leave this place and start my life over. The thought filled me with a sense of motivation and excitement. When I arrived home, Ryan was already back. There were still a few dishes left on the dining table. "Why did you come back so late? You haven't eaten yet, have you?" "I'll heat up some food for you," he said, picking up a plate and heading toward the kitchen. As he passed by me, I caught the faint scent of roses, Lily Shaw's shampoo. So, he had dinner with her and her son. Judging by the lingering scent, they had probably just left. It seemed that my presence here was interfering with their time together. "I already ate," I said simply, then went straight to my room. Most of my packing was done. I hadn't brought much with me to begin with, so I only needed to check everything once more tomorrow. Since I had already decided to leave, I wanted to make a clean break, no traces of myself left behind. Feeling tired, I stepped out to the living room to get a glass of water. Ryan's door was slightly open. The moment he saw me, he held up the marriage application form and asked, "Which day do you want to set for the wedding?" I glanced at my packed luggage in the corner before replying. "Marriage is a big event. There are many customs to consider. I'll go home tomorrow and ask Uncle and Aunt about it." Ryan nodded in agreement. In reality, submitting the marriage application was just a formality. In the eyes of others, we were already a couple. I had lost my parents at a young age, and with no other family left, Uncle Carter took me in and raised me as his own. He and Aunt Carter had always treated me well, like their own daughter. Ryan had always been the golden child, the one every parent admired. Handsome, intelligent, well-mannered, excelling at everything he did. He had always been kind to me as well. It was only natural that I fell for him. Aunt Carter noticed my feelings, and after discussing it with Uncle, they decided to arrange our engagement. In her words, "No matter who you marry, I worry you'll be mistreated. The only way I can be at ease is if you stay in our family." But the truth was, in my past life, the greatest pain I suffered came from Ryan Carter and his mother. I sighed. I had already repaid Uncle and Aunt for their kindness with my previous life. This time, I only wanted to stay far away from Ryan and live for myself. The next morning, I was surprised to find that Ryan was still at home. As soon as he saw me, he got up and went into the kitchen, bringing out a bowl of noodles and a glass of soy milk. This was the first time since I moved in that we had breakfast together. Ryan suddenly asked, "What time are you heading home?" "I have the afternoon off. Why don't we go together?" I froze for a moment. "You have time?" He nodded. "Marriage is a big deal. There are still a lot of details to discuss, and you've packed so much stuff, it'll be inconvenient for you to carry it all by yourself. We should go together." I instinctively wanted to refuse, but before I could come up with an excuse that wouldn't raise suspicion, the door was suddenly flung open. A young boy ran inside, tears streaming down his face, and threw himself into Ryan's arms. Ryan immediately hugged him, his voice full of concern. "Noah, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" His expression suddenly turned anxious. "Did something happen to your mother?" Noah hesitated for a moment, sneaking a cautious glance at me before finally whispering, "Mom told me not to come find you. She said Auntie doesn't like us. Once Auntie and Dad get married, we won't be able to come over anymore. I won't be allowed to call you Dad anymore." In my past life, this boy was the one who led my daughter away from me. He was the one who made her drift further and further from me. How could I not resent him? Noah sobbed. "The other kids say I'm just a fatherless stray. Hearing this, Lily Shaw was heartbroken and had locked herself in her room, crying. Ryan scooped Noah into his arms without hesitation and rushed out the door to comfort Lily. He didn't even have time to say a single word to me before leaving. I cleared my throat. Sure enough, it was true love. Now I no longer had to find any excuse to refuse him. I happened to want to go back alone. Before leaving, I glanced once more at the date on the transfer notice, then left happily. Today, I was determined to cancel my engagement with Ryan Carter. Although I felt a twinge of guilt toward Uncle and Aunt, forced love is never sweet, and they never really wanted us to become a couple anyway. When Uncle and Aunt saw me return, they warmly took my hand and fussed over me. Uncle kept glancing behind me now and then, and when he realized I was alone, he grumbled in displeasure. Aunt also complained that Ryan Carter was too inconsiderate. I looked at Aunt several times, hesitating to speak, but Uncle waved his hand to interrupt her and said kindly, "Sweetheart, if you have something to say, just tell us directly. We'll handle it for you. Don't be afraid." I pressed my lips together and finally said, "Uncle, I want to cancel my engagement with Ryan Carter." Aunt's face turned ashen. Uncle immediately grasped my hand tightly and asked, "Is it that Ryan bullied you, or did he do something to hurt you?" Bullying? I thought bitterly. He had indeed bullied me in my past life and never once apologized. I fell silent and lowered my head as an eerie quiet settled over the room, broken only by Aunt's soft sniffles. Then Uncle and Aunt began to comfort me. "Sweetheart, don't be afraid, we're here for you. That boy wouldn't dare bully you. Even if he has someone in his heart, we will never allow him to bring her into the family. Once you marry Ryan, you're meant to live a steady life. In time, things will get better. Besides, Aunt and I will always back you up. If that boy dares to bully you, I'll have him break his legs. You're just a girl. If you cancel the engagement, what will you do? Your parents entrusted you to us. How could we face them then?" After half a day of pleading, I stared blankly, unable to respond. With a resigned sigh, Aunt patted my back sharply before wrapping me in a tight embrace and weeping. "Sweetheart, how much have you suffered? Ever since you were little, you've endured everything without complaint. Once you've made up your mind, you never look back. You'll only get hurt if you continue like this." After Aunt had cried her fill, she took my hand and, with Uncle by her side, said, "Let's go find the witnesses. This engagement is off, and later we'll find a better match for you." I silently followed Aunt as the witnesses rewrote a new statement, signing and stamping it. Holding that document, I exhaled a quiet sigh of relief. Everything was finally over. I knew Uncle and Aunt had my best interests at heart. After all, in everyone's eyes, Ryan Carter was a golden boy with a bright future, envied by all. That was why they had carefully considered my cancellation request, despite me simply saying, "We just don't suit each other." It was undeniably a stubborn decision on my part. But whether they feared I'd be mistreated or were simply indulging my choices from my past life, I couldn't and wouldn't explain further. I couldn't tell them that Ryan Carter neglected me for Lily Shaw, that my daughter had become Lily's little confidant, or that in my previous life I died with my eyes open. Everyone said I was the stumbling block to the happiness of Ryan Carter's entire family. No one said I was the legitimate wife whose presence had disrupted the family, or that despite having a husband and a daughter, I lived like a lonely outcast. Now that the engagement was finally canceled, I felt an immense sense of relief. Tearfully, Aunt kept apologizing to me while Uncle, though silent, solemnly told me as he saw me off that from now on I was truly their daughter. If I ever suffered injustice out in the world, I should come home. I knew Uncle and Aunt genuinely cared for me, treating me as their own, yet I still hadn't told them about my plan to go to the countryside. By the time the bus reached the station, it was very late. I got off, planning to buy some steamed buns nearby before heading home. When I reached into my pocket, I found several bundles of money, $500, probably secretly slipped in by Aunt when she hugged me. Tears welled up in my eyes. Uncle and Aunt are truly wonderful people. It's just that Ryan Carter and I were never meant to be. As soon as I reached the building entrance, the neighborhood ladies sitting around chatting turned their eyes toward me, their gazes filled with curiosity and something else, pity? I tugged at the hem of my coat as Aunt Fang, who lived next door to Ryan Carter, brushed the sunflower seed shells off her lap and pulled me aside to a quieter place. As we walked, she scolded me in a hushed voice. "Sweetheart, you're just too kind. How could you let just anyone into your home? Ryan Carter is a golden boy. Do you know how many girls in this compound have their eyes on him? You'd better keep an eye on him. And that widow, trouble always follows women like her. Everyone in the compound keeps their distance from that mother and son, yet you two keep bringing them into your home like saints. Good thing you came back tonight. If you hadn't, with all that ruckus in the afternoon, who knows what the entire compound would be gossiping about tomorrow. That Lily Shaw, she doesn't seem like someone who knows her place. You'd better be careful. If anything happens, you can always come talk to us." Only then did I understand what had happened. It turned out that Ryan had brought Lily Shaw and her son to live in the house. He must have known that his actions would be met with judgment, so he simply used me as an excuse to justify it. I let out a cold, mocking laugh. So Ryan Carter did understand propriety. He just pretended not to when it suited him. He wrapped himself in a facade of loyalty and righteousness to conceal his true, ugly intentions. I had only been gone for a day, and he was already bringing them into our home. Was it desperation, or could he just not restrain himself? Not that it mattered to me anymore. In 2 days, I would be leaving this place forever. When I looked up, I caught Aunt Fang's eager gaze. I knew these neighborhood ladies weren't bad people. They just loved to gossip. But in my past life, it was these very same people who kept saying I wasn't good enough for Ryan Carter, that I was standing in the way of his love story with Lily Shaw. I thanked Aunt Fang for her concern and said nothing more as I headed home. What was there to say? That Ryan Carter and Lily Shaw were involved in an inappropriate relationship? That they lacked morals? And then what, ruin them both? In this second chance at life, I had considered exposing their affair outright. After all, in my past life, they had destroyed me. How could I not hate them? But I couldn't bear to hurt Uncle and Aunt. They had been too good to me, so good that even my hatred for Ryan Carter felt like it would harm them too. As long as I still cared about them, I wouldn't be able to truly touch Lily Shaw. Besides, if things escalated publicly, Ryan Carter would have no choice but to marry Lily for the sake of his reputation and so-called honor. Wouldn't that be exactly what she wanted? A fly doesn't land on an unbroken egg. In the end, Ryan Carter was the one who let his heart stray. When I opened the door, the laughter inside the house came to an abrupt stop. Ryan and Lily were standing in the kitchen, both wearing matching aprons, while Noah ran around them, giggling. They looked just like a happy little family. Ryan was the first to react. He put down the plate in his hands and walked toward me, reaching out to take the bags I was carrying. "You're back," he said, his tone casual. I ignored him and walked straight toward my room, only for him to step in front of me and block my way. Before I could say anything, Lily scooped Noah into her arms and without hesitation, walked straight into my room. I frowned, turning to Ryan for an explanation. He coughed awkwardly before speaking. "Lily hasn't been feeling well lately, and Noah is still young. I let them move in for a couple of days so you could help take care of them. I figured you'd find out when you got home, so I didn't mention it to you beforehand." It was only then that I noticed my suitcase had been moved out, dumped carelessly on the floor by the window. Ryan followed my gaze and, realizing what I was looking at, hurried over to pick up one of my coats, brushing off the dust with his hand. "I saw you didn't have much stuff, so I thought it'd be easy to move. I let Lily and Noah take your room for now. I was planning to sort out your things after Noah finished eating, but you came back earlier than I expected. So, was I not supposed to come back?" Seeing that I was still silent, Ryan shifted uncomfortably before adding, "We're getting married soon. Why don't you move into my room instead?" I didn't say anything, but I followed him inside anyway. On the table, the marriage application was still sitting there, with the wedding date left blank. After setting my things aside, Ryan sat down across from me. "How are my parents? What did they say about the wedding?" I paused for a moment before saying, "Uncle and Aunt are doing well. You should visit them more often." Then I added, "As for the wedding, Uncle and Aunt want to ask around for advice first. There's no rush. We'll wait." After all, in 2 days, I would be leaving this place. The longer I could delay things, the better. Ryan Carter suddenly chuckled. As long as you visit, they're happy enough. Why would they need me to go back? I had no interest in entertaining his jokes. I merely nodded absent-mindedly, eager to go to bed. "Dad, I'm hungry," Noah called from the living room. Ryan asked me to join them for dinner, but I shook my head. "I already ate," I replied. He left, and soon the scent of food filled the air, accompanied by the cheerful laughter of what sounded like a happy family. A doting father, a gentle mother, and a good son. Lily Shaw really did have a good son, at least one who loved his mother. He was better than my daughter had been. I shook my head, forcing myself not to dwell on the past. I was jolted awake by Noah jumping on the bed. He was using Ryan's bed as a trampoline, completely disregarding the fact that I was sleeping on it. When he saw I was upset, he immediately burst into loud sobs. Lily and Ryan rushed in at once. I kept my expression cold and said, "Apologize." Instead of apologizing, Noah saw Ryan and immediately played the victim. "Dad, I hate this auntie. She doesn't like me or mommy, she bullies us. Dad, don't marry this mean lady. Dad, can you kick her out?" Lily's eyes welled up with tears as she sobbed pitifully. "I'm so sorry, sister. It's my fault for not teaching Noah properly. Please don't be upset. Even if you don't like me, don't take it out on a child. Noah is just a kid after all." Ryan, looking distressed, held Noah in his arms and comforted him. Then he glanced at me disapprovingly, silently urging me to apologize to Lily and her son. I had no patience for their hypocritical act. Without a word, I stood up, grabbed my packed luggage, and prepared to leave. Ryan quickly blocked the door. "Where are you going? It's late. Why are you running off just because of a child? You're an adult. Why are you being so petty?" Seeing that I was truly furious, Lily hurriedly took Noah from Ryan's arms and retreated into her room. Ryan forced me to sit down on the bed and dragged a chair over to sit across from me. He had just opened his mouth to speak when I stretched out my wrist. Where Noah had stepped on me earlier, a red and swollen mark had already formed. Ryan's words caught in his throat. His face turned red, as if he was struggling to justify himself. After a long moment, he finally spoke in a pleading tone. "Noah is just a kid. It hasn't been easy for Lily to raise him alone, of course. She's put all her love into him. You're an adult. Can't you be more understanding? Noah never had a father growing up. If anyone should understand him, it's you. I know you don't like Lily, but do you really have to push them away like this? Can't you just apologize and make things right?" I let out a sharp laugh. "I'm not the one pushing them away. I'm leaving on my own, making space for them. You didn't even tell me before bringing them into this house. You threw my things outside. Isn't it you who's forcing me out? You wanted to bring them home, so you used me as a shield. So you do know that what you're doing is shameful?" Ryan's face turned pale. His hands trembled as he pointed at me, but for a long time, he couldn't say a word. In the end, he stormed off. That very night, I moved out of Ryan Carter's house. The commotion wasn't small. Several neighbors peeked out from their doors and windows, curious about what was happening. But none of it concerned me anymore. I had no intention of ruining Ryan Carter. But if he wanted to destroy himself, I certainly wouldn't stop him. There was a guest house near his place. That night, for the first time since my rebirth, I slept soundly. The next morning, I was awakened by the sound of furious knocking. When I opened the door, I found Lily standing there, her eyes red with anger. "Did you do this on purpose?" she demanded, her voice trembling. I remained silent. It turned out that after I left with my luggage last night, rumors had already spread through the entire compound by morning. Everyone was whispering about Ryan Carter and Lily Shaw's affair, casting judgmental glances at them wherever they went. Lily, her eyes blazing with fury, snapped, "Do you really think moving out will make Ryan marry you sooner? Or do you think that by making a scene like this, Ryan will abandon me and my son?" Lily Shaw sneered, her voice filled with venom. "Let me tell you something. Ryan Carter will never marry you. And no matter what you do, you'll never be able to get rid of me. You can't win against me." With that, she covered her face and ran off as if she were the one who had suffered the greatest injustice. In my past life, I had always known that Lily saw me as a rival. I knew she had feelings for Ryan, but I had never doubted my own relationship with him. We had grown up together, childhood sweethearts. Even when everyone said I was reaching too high by marrying him, I had never felt insecure about it. It wasn't until after we got married, when Ryan repeatedly defended Lily and her son without question, that I finally saw things clearly. In his heart, she and her son were what mattered most. That was when I gave up completely. Back then, I had thought to myself, if I ever had the chance to live again, I would leave Ryan Carter without hesitation. I would go out and see the world, experience the beauty of my country, and live for myself. So when Ryan came looking for me, I wasn't surprised. After all, last night's commotion had been quite big, of course. He needed to come up with an explanation. Just like in my previous life, when he constantly made me clean up the rumors and protect Lily's reputation, keeping her image untarnished for a lifetime. When he saw that I was calm and let him into the room, he visibly relaxed. "Don't be mad," he said. "Come home with me. I spoke too harshly last night. I shouldn't have made you apologize." I remained silent. I didn't agree, but I didn't reject him outright either. Ryan grew impatient. "You ran off in the middle of the night? Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?" Lily cried all night out of guilt. "She didn't even eat this morning before going out to look for you. You, of all people, should understand Noah the most. You grew up without parents, too." I cut him off coldly. "Ryan Carter, you know that losing my parents was the greatest pain of my life, yet you always use it to guilt-trip me. Every single time, you use my pain to force me into understanding Noah. You know I don't like Lily and her son, yet you keep making me accept them. You even brought them into our home without telling me, expecting me to take care of them." I scoffed. "You say it was dangerous for me to be out alone at night, but did you come looking for me? There's only one guest house near our home. Did you even spend a second trying to find me, or were you too busy comforting your precious Lily?" It was as if I had hit a nerve. Ryan stiffened, his voice rising defensively. "What do you mean by my precious Lily?" His tone was laced with guilt, but he still tried to sound righteous. "I've told you before, her late husband was my childhood friend. I'm just fulfilling his last wish by taking care of them." I let out a sharp, mocking laugh. "Your childhood friend? Which one? Funny, because we grew up together, and I don't recall you ever mentioning someone like that." Ryan's breathing faltered. He had forgotten that I had known him my entire life. I knew every single one of his friends. In my past life, I hadn't questioned him because I had been blinded by my naive belief in love. In this life, I didn't question him because I simply couldn't be bothered to expose the disgusting truth hidden beneath his self-righteous act. "You use the excuse of fulfilling a brother's dying wish to justify your emotional entanglement with Lily," I continued, my voice sharp. "You paint yourself as a loyal, honorable man. But tell me, why aren't your other comrades helping her? Why is it only you who has taken her and her son in? Have you ever noticed how your fellow soldiers look at you when you're with her? Do you really think wrapping yourself in a cloak of morality makes people blind to the filth underneath? People aren't fools, Ryan." His face turned red and blotchy, his hands trembling at his sides. But he forced himself to remain composed. "I know you're angry right now," he said stiffly. "Stay here for a couple of days. Once I settle things with Lily and Noah, I'll come back and take you home." I smirked as he turned to leave. "Ryan," I called after him, making him pause in his tracks. "You once told me that Lily was too weak to do hard labor, that she couldn't work in the factory, and you asked me to give up my job for her. Well, I've already spoken to Director Wong about it." Ryan's face froze. The next moment he grabbed my hands excitedly. "Mia, I knew you were the most understanding." His expression lit up as if he had just won the greatest prize. "Don't worry. I promise I'll marry you." He was so eager, he didn't even have time to notice the scornful smile on my face before he rushed off. I watched him go, shaking my head in disbelief. How shameless did he have to be to think I would still want to marry him? Did he really believe that being his wife was some grand favor he was bestowing upon me, something I should be endlessly grateful for? That if I dared to refuse, it meant I was ungrateful and unreasonable? Without the illusion of love to mask it, Ryan Carter was nothing more than a self-absorbed, entitled man who made me feel sick to my stomach. The next morning, I arrived early at the meeting point. Director Wong, worried that I might not adjust well, had even arranged for a few people from the same rural assignment to look after me. I sincerely thanked him, then handed him a carefully prepared gift. It wasn't until I got off the train that I finally felt like I had left everything behind. I finally let out a long breath of relief. Unexpectedly, I met someone I had admired my whole life, Professor Michael Fang. In my past life, I had been trapped in endless household responsibilities, never getting the chance to pursue my own ambitions. But this time, I had finally broken free. I had time to learn, to grow, and to realize my own value. Aside from working, eating, and sleeping, I devoted every remaining moment to studying and researching agricultural science. Because of our shared interests, Michael Fang and I grew closer over time. By the time I saw Ryan Carter again, 2 months had passed. I wasn't surprised by his arrival. A month ago, Director Wong had written me a letter informing me that Ryan had learned of my transfer to the countryside. On the day I left, Ryan had taken Lily Shaw to handle some paperwork, only to find out that the job he had planned for her had already been given to someone else, a child of a fallen soldier. Upon hearing this, Lily had caused a huge scene on the spot, and Ryan's face had been dark the entire time. I wasn't sure whether his frustration was directed at me or at Lily's outburst. Now, standing before me, Ryan frowned and studied me from head to toe. When he saw that I was doing well, he let out a sigh of relief. "I don't agree to the engagement being cancelled," he said firmly. "Come back with me." I took a step back, putting distance between us. A flicker of hurt flashed in his eyes, and he anxiously stepped forward, his voice unsteady. "Mia, there's nothing between Lily and me. I only promised her late husband that I'd take care of her and her son. If you don't like her, I won't see her again. Mia, in my heart, you are my wife. The only person I've ever wanted to marry is you." I listened in silence. Under his hopeful gaze, I calmly replied, "Go home. Lily and her son are waiting for you." My single sentence shattered all the light in Ryan's eyes. His entire being radiated pain and despair. Ryan stayed for a few days, but I continued my life as usual, working, eating, and studying under Michael Fang. Ryan insisted on following me everywhere. Sometimes, when I had to carry heavy crates at work, he would rush forward to take them from me. "These are too heavy," he said. "I can't bear to see you struggle." I looked at him steadily. "These crates aren't as heavy as the ones in the factory. The work I'm doing here is much easier than what I did back there. You told me Lily was too weak to do hard labor, so you asked me to trade places with her, forcing me into factory work instead. But now you say you can't bear to see me struggle? Why?" The color drained from Ryan's face. His lips trembled. "Mia, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Come back with me. Let's live a good life together, just the two of us, okay?" I rejected him without hesitation. No. When I discussed soil temperature and humidity with Michael Fang, Ryan couldn't understand a word. He could only stand by, feeling frustrated, just like I had once felt when I was left out, an outsider in my own marriage. Ryan started to subtly express his dislike for my closeness with Michael. He had overheard people saying that Michael and I were a perfect match. I met his gaze coldly. "There's nothing between us. I'm just learning from him. Shouldn't you, of all people, understand that?" Ryan was speechless. He had no way to refute my words. He must have remembered how he had once demanded that I understand and be patient with Lily and her son. Ryan had taken leave to visit. On his last night here, he got drunk. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I saw him cry. Tears streamed down his face as he sobbed. "I was wrong. I regret everything. I've only ever loved you. From the very beginning, the only person I wanted to marry was you. Did you know? I begged my parents for our engagement. When you agreed, I felt like I had won the entire world. I've been waiting for you all this time. I only ever wanted to marry you. I can't live without you." Ryan cried and pleaded, repeating himself over and over again until he fell asleep. Even in sleep, he murmured my name, begging me not to leave him. I suddenly felt like crying, too. But more than that, I found it laughable. In my past life, I had screamed, cried, and begged. I had resented and regretted. And through it all, Ryan had stood by, cold and detached, watching from a distance as if it had nothing to do with him. When people said he and Lily were true love, he never denied it. When people said I wasn't good enough for him, he never defended me. When I lay dying, He never showed any concern. But in this life, I had taken the initiative to let go. I had given him and Lily the chance to be together. He cried again, begging me not to leave. It was both pathetic and laughable. Ryan Carter left, but every month, he wrote me letters. Along with them came his entire salary. He said he would always wait for me to return. He said he had already tidied up the new house. He said he had sent Lily Shaw and her son away. He said he had applied for a transfer to be stationed near me. He said he wanted to spend the new year with me this time. But in the end, he didn't come. Because he married Lily Shaw. From that moment on, I completely cut ties with Ryan Carter. Years later, after finishing my degree with Michael Fang, I entered a research lab. During a scientific conference, I unexpectedly ran into Director Wong and finally learned what had happened to Ryan Carter. It turned out that Lily had discovered Ryan's transfer request. She was terrified that if he left, she and her son would lose their only source of security. So she deliberately got him drunk and spent the night in his room. The resulting scandal was so explosive that Ryan had no choice but to leave the military. Lily lost her job as well. Director Wong sighed. Their life together is a complete mess. They argue constantly, small fights every 3 days, major blowouts every 2. The whole neighborhood gossips about them. Ryan used to have such a promising future, but now he's taken to drinking and getting into fights. Just the other day, he and Lily had such a big brawl that they ended up at the police station. His current employer finally had enough and fired him. Director Wong patted my shoulder. You're really lucky. When you applied to leave for the countryside, I actually felt sorry for you. But now I see that your parents must have been watching over you, protecting you from disaster. I smiled. I knew I truly was lucky. Lucky to have been given a second chance at life. Lucky to have had the opportunity to make a different choice. Lucky to have been able to walk away from the mud and build a life of meaning. Life should never be just about love. There are dreams, ambitions, and an entire world to explore. 20 years later, I saw Ryan Carter again. By then, I had become a respected scientist, a leader in my field. He, on the other hand, was dressed in rags, holding a frail, crying child in his arms. The once proud and upright man who had carried himself with such arrogance for 2 lifetimes finally had a hunched back. His eyes were red as he murmured over and over, "I'm sorry." I smiled at him, my heart calm and unshaken. Then I said the blessing he had waited 2 lifetimes to hear. "Congratulations on your marriage, Ryan. I never got the chance to say it before, so I'll say it now." People said I was lucky in this life. But the truth was, he had destroyed my previous life with his self-deception and selfishness. I had let go. But that didn't mean I forgave him. Ryan stood there, his face filled with self-loathing. He let out a bitter laugh. "You should hate me. I deserve it. This is my punishment." Just then an announcement came over the speaker. "Professor Carter, please proceed to the stage." It was the centennial celebration of my alma mater, and I had been invited to give a speech. I smiled at Ryan one last time. I should go now. Then, without looking back, I walked toward the life I had built, a life filled with meaning and achievement. No goodbyes, no reunions. For the rest of our lives, we would never meet again. In this lifetime, I dedicated myself to my country, to scientific research, becoming someone worthy of admiration. Love may be disappointing, but effort never betrays you. Ryan Carter's perspective, after Mia left. After Mia left, Lily Shaw changed. She started finding ways to stop me from looking for Mia, even scheming against me. In the end, she forced me into marriage. After we got married, she became completely unhinged. If I so much as exchanged a word with another woman, she would grow paranoid and manipulative. If I attended a company gathering, she would storm into my workplace and cause a scene. She drove my parents to their graves with her relentless tantrums. One night, during yet another argument, Noah lost control and smashed a chair over my head, knocking me unconscious. Thinking he had killed me, he panicked and ran. In his desperation, he rushed into the street without looking. A car hit him. He died instantly. Lily went insane the moment she saw Noah's body, his tiny form broken beyond recognition. When I woke up, a new set of memories flooded my mind. And in that moment, I knew. I knew why Mia had been so desperate to leave me. I knew why she had chosen to go to the countryside. Why she had done everything to cut ties with me. and I knew that in this lifetime, there was no way to make things right. After Mia's death in our past life, I discovered the truth. Lily's so-called critical illness had been a lie. She had only pretended to be dying to force me into a divorce. By the time I realized my mistake, Mia was already gone. I had regretted everything. I had sworn to spend the rest of my days alone, keeping vigil over her memorial. But less than a year later, our daughter was tortured to death by Lily and Noah. I turned them in myself. I personally sent Noah to prison. Lily, filled with hatred, pushed me off a building, dragging me into death alongside her. In my final moments, I had only one prayer. If I could live again, I would never let go of Mia. Heaven granted my wish, but even after being given another chance, I still failed to cherish her. The baby in my arms let out a weak, kitten-like cry. She was hungry. She had been starving for days, and I had no money to buy milk for her. I could only feed her watered-down rice soup. She was Noah's daughter. After Noah died, his wife abandoned the baby and ran away. Now, she was the only family I had left. "Don't cry, sweetheart," I murmured, holding her close. "Grandpa will take you home for some rice soup." But I no longer had a home to return to.